Namaste everybody, I'm Cam from foundationmethod.com and I'm here with a little series on mental health, mental hygiene, and today's episode is all about gratitude or thankfulness or being grateful. So in today's episode I'm going to cover a range of topics from what the definition or what my understanding of it is as well, then what modern psychology says, what modern science says, what yoga says about gratitude. Then we're going to explore what is gratitude to you and how you find yours. How to practice gratitude, my story of how I found it or stumbled across it, more like it, and how to practice gratitude ideas. So a list of some really useful takeaways. And I'm going to put some links to some of those topics in the comments underneath the video so that you guys can read a bit more about it and do your own research besides just what I'm telling you in the video. So let's get into it. Gratitude. The definition, the Wikipedia definition, which I really like, thankfulness or gratefulness from the Latin word of gratus, pleasing or thankful, is a feeling of appreciation felt by and or similar positive response shown by the recipient of kindness, gifts, help, favors, or other types of generosity towards the giver of such gifts. Now, the important bits that I feel about that is that it's a feeling by and also a response, positive response shown by. So two parts of it. You feel gratitude and then you're expressing it. So that's important. We'll talk about that a little later on. Melody Beattie writes this beautiful quote and it kind of sums up everything about how I feel about gratitude. So I could waffle on for the next 25 minutes talking about my feelings about it, but she sums it up in this quote. And it says, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. So the really important part there for me is that last bit there where it says gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. In my experience, gratitude went from an abstract idea or a response into a daily practice and a therapeutic practice, and a super transformative one that changed my perspective on how I viewed situations in my past and allowed me to create a very clear vision for what I was growing towards or what I wanted to grow towards, rather than being held on to by the sort of painful or poisonous perceptions of what I've been through in my past. And I'll speak more to that a little bit later on. So 3 little parts here, and again I've got links in the comments below. First one, what modern psychology says. So this is from the harvard.edu website. So they studied a group that wrote about things that they were grateful for that had occurred during their school week. So they had a second group write about daily irritations or things that had displeased them, and the third group wrote about events that really sort of hadn't muchly affected them at all, with no emphasis or being negative or positive, more like a journal. So after 10 weeks, those who wrote about gratitude were more optimistic. They felt better about their lives, and surprisingly, they also exercised more, had fewer visits to the doctor, and focused on than those who focused on a source of aggravation or their irritations in life. So that little study is a good example of where your energy and your focus goes, your attention goes, that thing grows. And I'll explore more about that a little bit later on when I talk about the correlation between gratitude and yogic ideas as well. So what science says, benefits of practicing gratitude are nearly endless. People who regularly practice gratitude, and it's important they call it a practice, by taking time to notice and reflect on the things that they're grateful for, experience more positive emotions, feel more alive, sleep better, express more compassion and kindness, and even have a stronger immune system. So modern science, speaking directly to the physiological benefits of having gratitude, you're going to be healthier and have a much more robust immune system, which is, kind of important these days. A lot that's, our health is a big topic on the lips of the world at the moment. So gratitude might be something that can help support that. And then what yoga says: mental action of gratitude is a profound self-care activity to refine oneself. Speaking directly about the niyamas, so referring to the duties directed towards ourself, our inner observances, so the 5 niyamas, and I'll speak more specifically to one of those in a second, and to cultivate our own sustainable inner happiness. It's the act of being grateful for who we are and what we have. And this mental activity helps us to manage negative state or stagnant thinking, a natural characteristic of the mind. So in yoga we talk about yoga chitti vritta nirodha. So yoga cessates the fluctuations of the mind. So these patterns and ruminations and the things that kind of get you stuck, especially in the old part of our brains, the old sort of reptilian part of the brains that was designed to keep us alive out on there, the savannah. So with our fight, flight and freeze systems set up in there, they can pull your thinking into a very negative frame, and was essentially designed to keep you safe and, you know, stop you from getting eaten by tigers, so you could stay very clearly connected to fear and reactivity. But as we've grown in society and as we've grown spiritually and mentally, we're learning to transcend that. So one of those deep layers is getting caught in the fear of things, and gratitude's going to help elevate you into a much higher evolved part of the human brain. Seeking alternative perspectives that make us feel good and foster a sense of appreciation. So alternative perspectives is the important takeaway there. So being that it creates a sense of choice, that you can look at things from a different way. It goes back to that Melody Beattie quote, which I find so powerful. And the next part, it says, increase our resilience to cope with day-to-day frustrations that arise. So that's been my whole experience of yoga, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and realizing I can choose to act, or I can choose to be okay while I'm uncomfortable, knowing that growth is happening and I don't need to sort of medicate it or modify it or change the situation. I can cultivate my resilience by just being really present with what's going on emotionally inside me. And then the practice of santosha, or contentment, which is one of our 5 niyamas or yogic principles. The more we think about it, the more it grows. And it's so too with gratitude. So a lot of the great yogic teachers like to debate certain parts of Patanjali's 8-limb system, and I'll talk more to that in another episode. And I'll give you a link to the Patanjali 8-limb system so you can do your own research. But one of the things that they all agree on is santosha, or the practice or the choice of contentment, which is very closely linked to gratitude. And one of the side effects of gratitude is contentment, is grown by just contemplating it. So the more you think about it, the more energy you give to it and wonder about, how do I, what would make me grateful? What would make me content? What could that look like? And often when I go into that practice of, what it could look like, I'm sometimes meet resistance, or it feels a little bit stuck or chunky, as I like to refer to it. And that's the neural pathways starting to get stronger, because they're starting to grow into new different areas. You're connecting with that infinite potential part of your brain, and growing neural pathways in places that weren't there before. So if it feels a little bit uncomfortable or clunky or stuck, then don't worry, keep practicing it, because your brain is growing, literally. So let's explore what gratitude is to you and how do you find yours. So the first thing I'll get you to do, just sit very comfortably where you are and think about, just close down your eyes and think about somebody who's still in your life that makes you feel grateful. Someone who's still there. Somebody who their effect on your life has changed and supported you in such ways that you wouldn't be the person you are without this person. And just let the memory of that person start to flood through your mind. Why are you grateful? What happened? gently come back. So locating your gratitude is as simple as remembering somebody who has profoundly supported and helped your life grow. So we've all got somebody like that, or I hope you've got somebody like that. Hope we've got somebody like that. And if you don't feel you have, that's a good starting point to explore some of the deeper layers, perhaps in belief systems as well. And probably a good idea to reach out and talk to somebody about that as well. And I'll put some links down below with ideas of where you could start to think, or where you could start to look around that type of idea if that's come up for you. So for the rest of us that have found that memory easy to access, the feelings of gratitude might not come up. It might be the memories, it might be smells, tastes, sensations, the sound of their voice. All of those things might come up, but they start to permeate, and that person's not there. That's the important bit, that you created your contact with gratitude by yourself. So you did that by yourself without having to receive it from outside stimulus in this present moment. So what is your relationship to gratitude is the next part. Do you find that it's rare or difficult? Is it reactive or responsive? And I'm not casting any positive or negatives with that. Is it something that only really happens in the moment? Somebody does something nice for you and you say, oh yeah, thank you for that. Or, it's just responsive to outside stimulus in the moment. Or is it a practice? Is it something that you consciously practice? And knowing that is a really good place to start as well. Because when I first got in contact with the practice of gratitude and with consciously creating gratitude, it certainly was rare and difficult at that stage in my life. Was rarely responsive, reactive if anything, and certainly wasn't a practice. So I knew I had a bit of growth and a bit of work ahead of me. So it's a good question. Is it rare or difficult, reactive or responsive, or is it a practice in your life? So have you been consciously grateful for anything today? And notice I said the word consciously, something that you really thought about. You said thankful words to somebody, or you consciously created those memories like we did just before for a certain reason, or just part of your daily practice. And if you haven't, the question is why? And then that'll bring us into the next part, which is why practice gratitude, and my story, as in Cam's story of how I found it. So if you struggled with, this concept of gratitude, or even talking about it's making you a little bit irritated right now, then the question I have for you is, do resentments improve your quality of life? Do they affect your well-being? Do they affect your life plans? So resentments we're talking about now. So the quote that I really relate to around this is, drinking a cup of poison and hoping the other person dies, resentment. So gratitude being here, and on the other side of the spectrum, resentment, self-pity, very sort of selfish focused, self-abusive focused. My realization around resentment is that the practice of resentment is essentially self-abuse. It's like I'm reminiscing and running through these ideas, these negative ideas about somebody else over and over again in my mind, and that situation is no longer with me. So my brain is releasing the same chemicals and hormones and memories of me being in that situation, and I'm suffering from it. So when the penny dropped, I realized that the resentment was starting to make me sick. I started talking to some friends. So I was in a fairly harsh life situation a few years ago, and one of my friends said to me, you're really having, you can understand, you can see the situation that you're in, and you're really resentful about it, and you're not changing it. Maybe doing some NLP, some neuro-linguistic programming to help shift, take you from I'm cognitively aware into I'm going to do something about it, something to help step me over the line. And so I went down to the North Sydney pool, which was my normal hangout, and I was doing a bit of yoga beside the pool, and I jumped into the sauna, and I like going in there for a chat with all the randoms. They're good value down there at the North Sydney pool, and this guy just said to me, I'd never met him before. He said, "Oh, mate, were you doing the 7 steps?" And I said, "Yeah, I was doing the 7 steps." And so I asked him if he'd, practiced any Tibetan rituals or yoga or anything like that. And he said, "Yeah, I'm an initiated Tibetan monk, NLP practitioner, and I'm out here on holiday. So I'm on a world tour." And so I told him my problem, with my relationship that I was having, and that a friend mentioned that I should get some NLP. And he goes, "Well, I can help you with that. Do you want to do something about it now?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So we sat next to the pool, and he took me on this visualization of balancing my saboteur self and my higher self that had only love for me. And in that session, I realized that the higher self part of me that was trying to love me, and the self-sabotage part of myself that was kind of my inner critic, actually wanted the same thing. They wanted me to evolve. This one was going, "You're so stupid, why don't you get it?" And this one's going, "I'm going to love you until you fly." But then the dissonance between those two parts of myself was stopping me from actually getting it. So I had a pretty profound experience. I'm crying by the pool. All of my normal mates in the sauna are like, "What the hell's Cam doing?" Like, such a freak, And I get back in there, I'm like, "That was mind blowing," And they're like, "Yeah, like only for someone like you, mate." And so anyway, a couple of weeks later, I met up with him again. I said, "Look, it was really good. I felt something shift, but I want to make sure that I'm really getting this and creating the life change. I'm a new father, and I really want to be a better person for my daughter." And he said, "Look, I'll take you through this transformation session. It's a breakthrough session, and it goes for about 24 hours. And it was made up of timeline therapy, where you view your life like you're hovering in space, like you're hovering above it, and you get to look at it from different perspectives. Tibetan energetic clearing ceremonies, where he invoked Kali, this amazing Tibetan deity, and I could see this deity in my stomach, like cutting through these ribbons of attachment with these knives. And I'd never seen the deity before, and he asked me if I'd seen something, and I described what I saw, and then he just pulled out his iPad and said, was it this person?" And I was like, "Yeah." It was like a spitting image of what I'd seen, so that was quite real. But prior to getting to that 24-hour breakthrough session, which was amazingly transformative, and I can speak to that at much more detail and length because it was epic, but for this session based around gratitude, he said to me, "Because you're so stuck in resentments right now, I'm going to gift you this process, and all you need to do is on Christmas Day, take a nice jacket or a hot meal down to some homeless people underneath the bridge and tell them your story." And I said, "Yep, deal, that's done." And he goes, "So between now and then," which is 3 months, because he was taking off on a bit of a tour, he goes, "I want you to do a gratitude list every day." That was the first time I'd heard the concept, and he wanted me to write 3 foolscap pages of things that I was grateful for every morning, without fail. So for the first 2 weeks, it was just almost impossible. It was like, I'm grateful for having a pen. I'm grateful for the bed that I'm lying on. I'm grateful for water running in the tap. It was really, really hard. And by the end of the first month, I started noticing some pretty big shifts, where I looked forward to doing the gratitude list in the morning, because I started to uncover some ideas and some memories from my earlier life, especially earlier childhood. So that second month was mostly me reminiscing about growing up, going to the farm as a kid, girlfriends that I'd had, and how thankful I were to have the time with them, or time that I spent with my dad or my mum, or memories of things that I was grateful for. They started bubbling up all by themselves. And then in the last month, what I noticed was energetic shift started to happen. So I started noticing My relationships at work had started to change. Normal things that triggered me or upset me weren't triggering me or upsetting me as much. My main resentment that was causing me the grief that brought me into this session anyway, my energetic response to that relationship and to what was going on there had started to shift, and I was starting to focus on what was right and starting to celebrate the time that we'd shared together, and realizing the wisdom. And although it was painful wisdom, there was great wisdom that came from that relationship, and I was starting to feel really thankful that I'd had the experience, even though it hurt me so much. So that comes back to that Melody Beattie quote, changes my perspective on the past. It certainly changed my perspective on the past and created enough room inside of me for the change that was going to come through this session. And then it wasn't long before I'd begun my yoga teacher training, hung up my drinking boots, made massive life change at that time. And this was kind of part of the genesis of that transformation. So yes, gratitude as a practice. That was conscious gratitude that I'm speaking to here. So it became daily rather than frequent or difficult. It became, yes, it was responsive, and I was very conscious of when it was responsive, but it became my daily practice as a default, and still is to the day. So gratitude being the antidote to resentment is the long wind of that story. And the idea behind it is that, if you've got a kid, if you have children in your life, you're lucky enough to, then you'll know when a kid's really resentful. If you start asking them to be grateful or consciously grateful about something, then the energy only goes for so long, and then will start to peter out, because you can only have gratitude or resentment. One of the two wins out as to the energy. It's like flowing through a hose. It can only go in one direction. It depends on which one you give more work to. So it reminds me of that the story of the black and the white wolf. The grandfather walking his kid through the snow, and the kid looks up and says, "Granddad, are you a good man?" And he said, "Well, I feel like there's two wolves inside my heart, and one is a dark wolf, and this black wolf, he's full of jealousy and anger and rage and resentment, and he's dark. And then the other wolf is the white wolf, and he's full of gratitude and love and hope and truth and strength. And they're always at war. They're always there, and they're always at war in my heart." And the little boy looks up and he says, "But Granddad, which one wins?" And he looks down at his grandson and he says, "The one that I feed." So the wolf that you feed, and if you feed with gratitude, you're feeding the white wolf, and that's the one that wins out. Or that, in my case, that was the experience. So gratitude being linked to abundance consciousness, and resentment being linked to poverty consciousness was another realization that I had. And especially during this whole pandemic thing, I've seen people get really lost in this not enough consciousness. Now, they've got roofs over their head, they've got food in their mouth, they might not have the same job they used to have. And yeah, sure, the change that's thrust upon you can make you feel unsure of what the future is, but getting lost in the resentment there, falling down the pathway of not enough consciousness or poverty consciousness is, I feel like there's a global healing around that consciousness that we're going through at the moment. And being connected to more subsistence communities in Indonesia, and like my driver Made up in the top of Indonesia, he's living back, with his family because of COVID. He's still very connected to positive gratitude consciousness, even when they've lost everything, and they're eating small root vegetables just to stay alive. So it is our choice, our perspective. And Eckhart Tolle says, acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation of all abundance. So that's been the big takeaway for me. If I want to create more of what I want in my life, it's important that I foster gratitude. And by fostering gratitude, it's the cornerstone of creating more of what I want. So it's a pretty profound quote, as is Eckhart Tolle's quotes. And if you don't know him, get amongst his readings. So the next part, how do I practice gratitude ideas? So, okay, so I went from that healing session into a recovery around alcohol for myself. And part of that was that I got into a 12-step program. And they say one of the number one killers of alcoholics is resentment, not the alcohol. So the resentment, the disease of the mind, is what spurs the drinking, so to numb out the pain. So it's urged or suggested in recovery that you're very cognizant of your resentments, and there's a process of owning your hand in it that you do in your steps 4 and 5. It's super powerful. People in normal day life should be getting amongst it because it is super clearing in the heart, and understanding what my hand in it. It's, in my case at that stage, I realized that even all the pain that I had been through in that relationship, I chose to be there. I chose to be with that person, and essentially that was the perfect person to create the level of pain inside of me I needed to start the growth that took me to where I'm at right now. So had I not been with that person, I wouldn't have gone through the lessons of self-understanding that I needed to avail me to be a better father. So I'm really, really thankful for understanding my hand in it. And also, just a nice example of that, if I wasn't dishonest about how I was feeling, somebody goes, "Oh, how are you, mate?" And you go, "Oh, yeah, I'm fine." It's like, well, you're not. You're really not that great, and there's no reason for you to lie to that person except that you don't want to worry them, right? But if I had been honest to that person, if that's a work colleague, for example, and they go, "How are you?" And you go, "Oh, yeah, I'm all right." But you're not. You're really not good today. If I'd been more honest with that person and said, I just don't feel so good today, they could have taken the responsibility to choose to treat me in a different way so that then they didn't upset me. They could have been mindful of how they talk to me, or, because most people have a sense of empathy and compassion if you give them the chance to exercise it. So that's a really good example of owning my hand in it. Had I not lied to that person, even though it was a white lie, that person could have had a better opportunity to respond in a much more caring and empathetic way, as opposed to me getting resentful. "Oh, they're treating me terrible today." It's like, well, you could have told them you weren't feeling so good, So anyway, moving on. Caring for yourself physically and emotionally. So this is just a list of a couple of different ideas on gratitude practice. So self-care is a big part of having gratitude for yourself, or practicing gratitude for yourself. And if you don't have a good swag of tools around your self-care, just by listening to this video shows me that you're actually starting to explore it. So good on you. Get amongst a bit of yoga practice, jump in a bath, read a book, nourish yourself. That's all creating a bit of gratitude for the self. Practicing yoga and mindfulness that focuses on gratitude. So I like to theme my yoga classes. So if you come along to one of my weekly practices, you'll notice I'll bring that one in there from time to time. It's a good reminder for me, and it's a good reminder for my students. Gratitude journal, or the gratitude list. Now, this is the really important one. This is where it goes from the head to the page. You're actually taking action. And when you're taking action, you're generating a sense of energy, and you're creating that sort of snowball effect, right? Where it might be very difficult in the beginning, but over time it becomes a little easier. And then you get the snowball momentum, which comes from taking it from here and onto the page. And then with practice, you can start to do it in your mind, as I do. And they talk about it as counting your blessings before sleep or when rising. So for me, as soon as my consciousness comes to waking, I go straight into my gratitude list, and I say as many as I can off the top of my head until I struggle, and then I try and do 1 or 2 or 3 more, right? If I wake up and I've got worries running through my head and stuff going on, I already go down that rabbit hole, I can choose to start my day again. And I did this morning where I was like, oh yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. What am I grateful for? And I go into that. Some people do prayer or meditation as a way of accessing their gratitude for self or gratitude for life. And that's definitely prescribed as a great practice. Expressing gratitude and kindness to others verbally. So yeah, uh, having gratitude and feeling it but not expressing it is like having a Christmas present that you forget to wrap and you forget to give. And we're going to talk about how we create that gift and give it a little bit later on. Writing a thank you note to someone you love. We've all got phones. Send them a text. Tell that person, how much you like them, how much they mean to you. Share the gratitude and, create the joy. Practice living in the present and enjoying positive qualities at moment to moment rather than focus on past or future events. Easier said than done, and I'll do a whole podcast around presence and how we can access presence, but gratitude can help us really enjoy being present as well. Avoid overthinking and social comparisons. Focus on being thankful for what you have. So in yoga, we talk about that as your drishti, staying focused on your own practice, staying focused on your own mat. That can be really useful as well. Volunteer as a way of expressing gratitude for those within your community. So I have a friend of mine who one of her main jobs is the workplace. She's like a positive angel of the workplace, works in a high corporate environment in a bank, and her job is to go around and reward people for being awesome and point out where they've been awesome and talk about that. So corporate constructs are now understanding the value of gratitude within the workplace in relationship to productivity and stuff like that. So if you're a business owner, maybe it's a great idea to show a bit of gratitude for those people around you. So again, one of my favorite quotes is from the 15th century poet Rumi. Be grateful for your life, every detail of it, the lessons from your pain and the blessings you receive the same. And if you can do that, your face will come to shine like a sun, and everyone who sees it will be made glad and peaceful. So let's do it. We're going to do a little gratitude meditation practice here so that we can really anchor in how to feel that gratitude and also how to share it. So get into a comfortable position, close down the eyes, hands on the lap, spine nice and tall, and just start to notice how you physically arrived. So notice how your body feels. Get any little wriggles or any movements done so you can be very present and not have to adjust yourself for the next few minutes. And start by noticing sounds as far off in the distance as you can. And now noticing sounds closer. Sounds in this room or in this recording. Noticing your breath. And now that we've arrived, bring into your mind somebody who you're grateful for. Someone who has improved your quality of life. Who without them your life would not be as full or as wonderful. And as you breathe, start to grow the feeling of gratitude inside of yourself. And if you can't feel it, tell yourself it's there, or visualize a golden energy starting to shine out from your heart past your skin. Let all the memories of why you're grateful for this person flood across the mind. And as you start to feel this, turn the feelings up. Make it stronger. And now let the feelings bring a small smile to your face. Let the lips curl up. Let your eyes crease. Breathe gratitude into your smile. And breathe gratitude from your smile. And let all the memories go, but let the feeling and the smile remain. And now let that feeling and the smile filter through your body, from the crown of the head to your eyebrow center, your eyes. Feel the smile in your cheeks and your nose. Feel the smile in your jaw, in your throat, shoulders, and feel it flow down your arms like little sunbeams. Feel the smile flow into your heart like a hug from your good friend. And let it flow down your belly like a golden wave, through your hips and your thighs, through your knees and your shin, all the way down to your toes. And as you breathe in, feel the whole body smile with gratitude. And as you empty, let all the memories fade. And gently wriggle the fingers and the toes. Slowly open the eyes. And so your practice is to make contact with your special friend, the person who's still in your life, and go and visit them best, or call them better, or send them a message if that's all you can do. But take some time and express how you feel about them. Let your face kind of shine like a sun, and just tell them how much they mean to you, and share your gratitude for that person and the wondrous joy that they've brought your life. Share some joy with them. So I hope this has been of use today, and come back and use the practice and the meditation whenever you feel like it. I'll put some links in the comments below so you can access some of those ideas around the modern connection with gratitude. And if you've enjoyed today, you can always join the mailing list on foundationmethod.com. Again, the links are in the comment section. And there's a free training on there where I explore 6 of the biggest problems and 6 high quality solutions that stand between you and accessing a really positive connection with your wellness journey. And if that sounds good, then I've got the Foundation Method program where I can value 12 months membership to all of the online programs, or I can mentor you for 6 weeks, or I can mentor you personally for 6 weeks, and then another 6 weeks take you through a full transformative process of the balancing core belief work. So if you're ready for a full transformation, let's get into it. So namaste. I'm grateful for you being here so that I can share this knowledge, so that I can grow my gratitude, and hopefully it grows a gratitude in you. Namaste.